Welcome to Remix EQ Live, where we are amplifying equity through a remix of information, interviews, and inspiration. I'm your host, Dr. Erica Tate, and today I am broadcasting live from snowy Savannah, Georgia, where I live. For those joining us today, please drop a greeting of choice in the comments. Let us know where you are joining from and the equity driven work you do or aspire to do. And remember, Remix EQ Live is an experience that's meant to be shared. I encourage you to hit the share and invite buttons and bring along your people, your network, your family, your friends, your peeps to join our Remix EQ Live community today. This season, we are broadcasting live on LinkedIn and YouTube. We can now connect more broadly, growing our reach and building our learning community. And while those comments are flowing in and those invitations are flowing out, I want to remind you that Remix EQ Live offers the opportunity for us to connect and build community with each other around the equity-driven work being performed throughout the world. And we do this by centering the work. That is, our guests and viewers share example of what they do in their role or position as a way to illustrate the innovative, effective, and meaningful ways they advance equity in the spaces in which they live, work, learn, and play. Throughout the show and in the comments, I invite you to also share what you do to make the world a more just place. This Remix EQ Live episode is the premiere of season 7. And today I am interviewing social justice warrior, Dr. Brittany N. Anderson. She's an assistant professor of urban education at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. She is also the co-editor of Gifted Black Women, Navigating the Doctoral Process, Sister Insider. Today, we are celebrating Black girl magic and Black girl genius as we center our conversation on gifted and high ability Black girls and women. We will listen and learn from transdisciplinarian and equity scholar Dr. Brittany Anderson about how she leverages university, school, community partnerships to engage Black girls and their families in STEM learning that is culturally relevant and experiential. And through the lens of talent development, we'll gain insight into how she supports teachers and families to identify gifted and high ability Black girls in school and at home. Of course, this episode is for the families and teachers of Black girls, but also for the community who embraces and uplifts them. Let us begin this conversation for change. Welcome, Dr. Brittany Anderson.
So I'm so excited to be in community and space with you. Just excited for your energy and for us to talk about some issues that I feel like are so critical in our communities and a driving force behind what we do.
Oh, I am so excited for you to start that conversation with us. I always get a chance to talk with guests before, so you guys, you are in for a fantastic show. And to start us off, Brittany, I invite you to introduce yourself. And as you do, please share 1 to 2 career or personal twists and turns that have led you to your current role.
So, my name is Brittany Anderson, and I am a scholar who focuses on the unique intersections of gifted urban ed and STEM with the through line of Black girlhood. And so, I'm just delighted to do this work through teacher preparation, through curricular development, and through university school community partnerships. And so, I love this question about just the personal twists and turns. And I sat with it and just thinking about like what that would be for me. And so with that, I am a native Texan. Although I have transitioned, more so Northeast, I guess edging more so towards the Northeast. But I think one of the biggest pivots for me was when I decided all right, I've been a classroom teacher. I've worked with kindergarten. I worked with second grade. And it was such a delight for me, but at the same time, you have all these issues that are circling your classrooms. You have, things that your families are needing, your students are needing, and you feel like, well, how can I move the needle? And not saying you can't move the needle from being a classroom teacher, but I felt like, okay, I really want to branch out and I really want to understand more about some of these systems and structures and how I can improve them based on some of my unique needs. So I quit my job and I decided to move across it to my mama's chagrin, move across the country is what she said, and leave Texas for Georgia, for the University of Georgia. And there, it was just really life changing. The women that I met, the professors I was able to engage with, it just really changed my life and the discourse and the trajectory of what I would do forever. Didn't think that I would be doing this, but here we are. And so I would say that's one of the most pivotal twists and turns that I've had. And then I would say this too, speaking to everyone that's out here, I think it's really important when we are in spaces that do not honor us, do not honor our work, and then also to do not value our humanity, that we leave those positions. And so I would say my second is leaving a space that does not serve me or also does not value the ways in which I serve others. And so I would say leaving that role was probably one of the personal and professional twists, I think, that really changed the impact of my life and journey as well.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Brittany. I really appreciate. We always appreciate educators' story on the show because it shows the broad and varied impact that educators can make in this space. And so, going from kindergarten teacher to figure out how you can better support families or families like the ones you were teaching. That's really great insight into how you came to where you are. But I definitely appreciate the wisdom you dropped about leaving spaces that don't serve you and that don't allow for you to serve in the ways that you need to. And I think that's some welcome advice in this time. And so thank you for your courage because now you can do the things that you are meant to do and make the impact that we all need you to do. So thank you. So thank you. Definitely connect with Dr. Brittany Anderson in the comments during this episode. Oh, look, we have, Mr. McRae Mangum. Oh my goodness, hello. He's a principal for Seminole Heights Charter High School in Tampa, Florida, but he used to be in Savannah, Georgia. I love it when the principals and the teachers are on. This is a great episode for you to join. Wonderful to see you. And then also we have Brianna Matchett. Welcome, Dr. Anderson. Thank you for sharing your journey. I love hearing about the twists and turns. Hashtag Black girlhood.
Come on. Yes, all of it. It takes you all so much for that one.
For those who are just joining us, this is Remix EQ Live, where we're amplifying equity through a remix of information, interviews, and inspiration. And now that you've had the chance to meet or reconnect with Dr. Brittany Anderson, I know that you are inviting others to tune in. And of course, I invite you to interact with us, post comments, to say hello, to ask questions, to share examples and learnings as we dive into this interview. You are part of our Remix EQ Live experience. Now we center the work. This is an opportunity for us to learn from Brittany about how she makes the world a more just place, specifically how she identifies and supports gifted and high ability Black girls in STEM learning in school, at home, and in the community. So, Brittany, as an assistant professor in urban education, how do you center the learning experiences of gifted and high ability Black girls and women?
I just love this question. I think that I wear many hats in doing so to serve the unique needs of gifted and high ability Black girls and women. And I feel like one of the main ways in which I do that is through university school community partnerships. And university school community partnerships are so important to me. One, I feel like I had a really strong university school community experience when I was in middle school. And so from that, I attended Title I schools my whole life, underfunded schools. And we had this unique opportunity for those who had been identified to attend the summer sessions at Baylor University. And there it opened my eyes to so many different STEM opportunities, so many different ways of thinking. And that's one of the things I hang my hat on as I venture out, because I did have such an impact, because I'm first generation scholar, first generation college graduate, and just being in those spaces was really meaningful to me. And then also too, just open my mom's perspective too for what could be offered to me. And so from that, I anchor my work in my own lived experiences as well, of being a gifted Black girl, and then also too of being enriched in a collective. I am a part of my village. And so all of these unique intersections inform what I do now. And so I don't leave behind what carried me here. And so with that, the work that I do, it really begins to mesh. Okay, what are some of our challenges in urban schools, or schools in general? And then how can we approach it from an innovative and enriching perspective that honors what our girls bring, honors their knowledge, honors their way of being, honors their family and the unique expertise that their families have as well. And so, as a class, I meld me being a classroom teacher, me being a community worker, and then also, too, how do we build out programming that really equips us to understand some of these unique needs in schools and out of schools. And so back when I was in Georgia, we worked in schools, through my doctoral advisor. We worked in schools doing creative problem solving. And from that, I learned different ways in which I could embed that into the community wealth of knowledge that Black and brown families already have, right? So we have been doing STEM. We have been experts in terms of how we can be conveyors and conduits of knowledge in the kitchen, in our yards, right? In with engineering practices. And so how can we honor those legacies, and help our girls see that STEM is already all around us, help them see that they have all of these tools of knowledge, of problem solving, creativity. Don't get me started on the creativity that our girls are bringing. And then how can we at the same time help schools to see and also disrupt ways that they are seeing Black girls? How can we reframe some of the behaviors that they see as being disruptive to, oh, no, she's being assertive, or she's showing leadership, or that question that you asked that you thought that could have been disrespectful, honestly, that could have been a mode of inquiry. And how do we approach it, right? And so it begins to reframe what Dr. Mary Frazier calls traits, aptitudes, and behaviors. And so a part of what I do is sort of the illumination, in terms of what our girls are bringing and how can we build out opportunities where they can show what they know. And boy, do they show you what they know. And so it's really a wheelhouse of building in these conglomerates with the families, with the community, and then also to in partnership with the girls. The girls are not simply outliers where we're just serving them. They are active parts of what we do each day. And so that's kind of a long part of your answer, but that's really what I try to engage in doing.
Yeah, no, I love it. You're speaking my language. You're honoring your lived experiences, bringing that to the girls, honoring their experiences, their families, um, um, helping them understand that they are doing STEM, that they know things, that they are creative. Like, I love it. For those who are watching who might not have a definition for what gifted and high ability Black girls and women are, could you define that for us?
Absolutely. And so, if you have any knowledge about the history of gifted education, it has been rife with more so segregationist practices or discrimination when it comes to the historically marginalized groups. And because of that, there has been the typical realm of identifying students has been through achievement tests. And so that, as we know, achievement and intelligence tests have been very biased to our students. And so when we talk about the traditional ways of identifying students, we miss a lot of our students because one, we're looking for these very uniform, normed behaviors that our students may not exhibit, and they have their own way of knowing and doing. And so what I ascribe to is a talent identification and development model. Right. And so what that means is we use multiple sets of criteria. We can use an intelligence achievement test because that's often what schools are offering. However, can we have a portfolio where the students are showing their creativity? Can we have an assessment or an evaluation letter from the families showing what they have seen their child do over time? And then what are some of the ways in which we can build out these enrichment experiences for our students to show what they know? And so oftentimes we're just looking at those assessments, but can we create a problem solving creative experience, what we would call a demo lesson, where the students can just show what they're doing, show their reasoning, their humor, their modes of thinking, all of these different components in order for them to build out that portfolio. And so I using Gagne's model can be a really helpful tool called the differentiated model of talent development, but also adding in what are some of the local understandings and norms of how do we think about giftedness? What do we need to disrupt that's not equitable to our students? And then I can also share some resources that I use as well. But it's really holistic. It's moving away from traditional achievements tests and intelligence tests, and really thinking about holistically what the students are able to do using thinking about their talent potential.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that offers a lot of, well, one, building our knowledge about both traditional and then the talent identification and development model that you are sharing with us, but also just again, right, like that honoring of who the girl is or who the child is, right, and all that they're bringing, and trying to figure out what ways can we get at or pull out or allow for them to show all that they can do, and creating those opportunities for them. So I love it. I love it. Paul A., I see your question. I'm going to hold it. It's going to come up a little bit later. I have to shout out something for Dr. Anderson first. So for those who tune in to Remix EQ Live on a regular basis, you know that in our learning community, we celebrate the work and the works of our guests, and their works can be things that they produce for us. So books, talks, online content, card decks, performances, articles, talk shows. So we've seen a lot of works to celebrate. So I would love to celebrate Dr. Brittany Anderson. She has co-edited and published the book, Gifted Black Women, Navigating the Doctoral Process, Sister Insider, which features a collection of narratives written by Black women doctoral graduates who share their personal and academic experiences, including challenges related to race, gender, and class, and parenthood, and the invaluable role of social sisterhood. So I love it. And so in this critical volume, these women, they offer concrete guidance, and they contribute to ongoing discussions about race and academic achievement, gender, and mental health. Yeah. So Brittany, who should read this book and why?
So I know it's a biased opinion, but everybody should be reading this book. But let me get a little bit into the weeds. I feel like this book is not only for those aspiring to enter doctoral programs, but this is for all of those of us who have been in gifted and advanced programming. Because what these women are doing, myself included, is we're unpacking. We look back to look forward. And so we're looking back at our elementary experiences for a few of these women who were accelerated, who, finished high school at 15, right? What did that look like for them, right? And then also the parental engagement. How do we begin to understand ourselves and what the world looks like for us outside and also in our homes? And then also, too, how can we have those that are supportive of us? So those are the mentors, those of us who are academic advisors, those of us who are community leaders. How can we begin to understand how to support? But then also, too, I'm going to put this in disrupt some of these really negative associations around the development of Black women, girls and women. How do we disrupt the superwoman phenomenon, right? How do we give room for us to take risk and fail? Because we don't talk about that enough. And so these women are really engaging in what that meant for them as girls, early as elementary, to what that means for them now, and how we've had to shed perfectionism, how we've had to shed imposter syndrome. And many of us are still working through that. And so I say it's one for all. And then we'll also say this is for our partners, those of us who are in partnership with gifted and high achieving women. So what does that mean to be in partnership with us? What does this mean to be a child rearer with us, right? As we are navigating our own, and then we're adding in new elements. And so I think it's all of that.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So everybody, you gotta purchase. I love it when we're both on screen. I love it. I'm just like, yes, you can't miss it. All right. Thank you so much for sharing this book and sharing the insights that are available to Black women and their partners and to everybody who's ever known a Black woman.
Yes.
So please purchase Gifted Black Women, Navigating the Doctoral Process, co-edited by Doctors Brittany N. Anderson and Shaquinta L. Richardson. Has amplified Brittany's works and the experiences of gifted Black women. Woo, woo, woo. Yes. Thank you. All right. And I wanted to say hi to Shanae Commodore. I saw you saying hello, and welcome. And Paul also says, hi, everyone. Nice to see you, Dr. Anderson.
Hello.
Oh. So here we're actually going to get to talk a little bit more about the programming that you shared with us before. So I actually want to continue our celebration of works because Dr. Brittany N. Anderson, she has competed for and won a National Science Foundation career grant. And for those who don't know, it is a faculty early career development program. And it is the National Science Foundation's most prestigious award for early career faculty. So first, congratulations. That's a big win. So I wanted to make sure we know that she competed hard for that. She won it, and she's doing good with it.
Yes. Yes. It's keeping me up, but we are still out here.
Yes, yes. It's a lot of, well, you do hard work.
Yes. Thanks.
But Brittany, will you share more about your work with this NSF career grant? Like who participates, and what are those participants doing?
Absolutely. And so for the audience, this grant is focused on critical and culturally relevant experiential learning. And how do we do this type of work to inform STEM identity for elementary high ability and gifted Black girls, their teachers, and their families? So it's not just siloed programming, it's interconnected because, again, we don't live lives in a vacuum. And so it's how do we co-develop, the parents and the teachers co-develop knowledge together and work in collaboration with each other. And then at the same time, how do we support the girls in opportunities to understand STEM exploration? But the cool thing about, I feel like this project is it honors the legacy of STEM in Black communities. And so it's special to me because I learned about experiential learning from my grandmothers, my great grandmothers and my grandmother, and they taught me about STEM in the kitchen. They taught me about STEM outdoors, exploring. I'm from a rural area. And then they taught me about products with our hair. Why do we use these certain things? And so those are the bedrocks of this work. And I just, of course, expanded to fit some of the more contemporary landscapes of STEM. So we're talking about chemistry, we're talking about scientific properties, we're talking about engineering at the smallest and largest bit, right? In terms of like the tension of hair when we're getting our hair braided. Yes, we're hitting all of that, right? We're talking about cosmetic science, then thinking about some of the toxins that we could be putting into our hair and into our bodies, skincare. We're talking about this upcoming year, we're doing our culinary unit. So we're hitting STEM across culinary science, technology, engineering, and math. And so I think one of the best things about this project is seeing the girls, their mothers, grandmothers, and these Black women educators learning in community together and seeing it all happen across the space at once is honestly one of the most fulfilling things I've experienced. And so seeing intergenerational knowledge, sharing different aspects about STEM and engaging in STEM activities. It's just honestly a joy just to see. And I've learned so much about how do we enrich or even help train teachers as they think about not only STEM, but Black girlhood, not only STEM, but their own Black womanness, not only STEM, but then also too, how do they show up as parents? And so we're able to hit the whole gamut through my CCREL model that I co-developed with Dr. Shanika Coleman King. And we hit SEL, we hit active learning, we hit inquiry, we hit the aspects of culturally relevant pedagogy. So we're just able to do so many things in that space.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We're going to get to more of your learnings later. Like, I
Mhm.
just love how you light up. And you talk about, I was like, I want to see the intergenerational learning too.
It's honestly so dope. You have grandmothers in there and they're playing and they're engaging and they're like, okay, so what more can I do in my home? What are some questions I need to activate if, I'm raising my grandchild and I want her to have what she needs? And you see everyone leaning on each other and really disrupting this homeschool connection that can awfully be divisive amongst parents and teachers, for families and teachers. And so it's honestly a blessing. It's honestly a blessing.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I
Mm.
can't wait to hear more. I'm going to take Paul A's question now. He says, how have you been able to garner buy-in with families who may be fatigued with programs that may not be as effective as yours? And what has been the most impactful value add for them?
Paul, that is a great question. I am partnered with a school community that has been overlooked, and then also to been. I just think the community in general has some fly by night programs happening there, right? We came to get what we need and we're out, right? And we're not really getting into understanding the community, understanding like the needs of the community. And so I feel like one of the things that I have really done that's been effective is really building partnerships with the teachers. And those teachers have been on that campus for multiple years, right? So it hasn't been that high turnover that we're seeing in a lot of places. And so building partnerships with them and establishing trust with them, and also the family seeing me over time, I feel like has been really helpful. Knowing that I'm not here just for this one semester, this one year. I'm here for the long haul, and also too supporting your girls in other aspects once they leave the program. And so it's been bi-directional. However, I'm going to your point about fatigue because life is lifing. Like while I'm running this program, life is lifing for a lot of families. There is economic struggle. There's gentrification happening in this community. There's so many things going on. But one of the things I do feel like the program offers that others might not is a place to play and just to be. And how often do we as adults have a space to play and just be who we are in that moment without the mask? That's one of the first lessons that we do is how do we take off the mask, right? And there's no one way to be here in this space. So it has become a fugitive space for the teachers, for the families, and for the girls. And I think with that, it created a value added component for them. And then also too, I'm honoring people's time. I know I wrote this grant, and with it, I know everyone doesn't have access to this, but I wrote in their time and their labor and pay them for that. Right. So they're there and I'm going to make sure we're fed. I'm going to make sure this, just like we have done for ages of old Black communities, community building and doing it the right way. How can we honor that? And so that's several of the different ways in which I try to really garner buy-in with the families.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm like, yes, I just get happier and happier. I'm gonna like jump off my stool here. But I love like the bidirectionality that you talked about, like this whole idea of community, like honoring their time with food and payment. Like, oh, I just want to say it again, honoring their time with payment, and the gifts that they're bringing to the space, to this fugitive space, as you spoke of. And so, thank you so much for sharing those strategies.
Yes, because we honestly use our families for research and for we this is one of the outcomes we want to have. We can put that on our school improvement plan. We did this one time, rather than being consistent in honoring what they need as well. And so that's really, really important to me.
Yeah, no, it's really wonderful. You've been dropping several different strategies about how your programming is unique, but also responsive to the community. And I just want us to have a little bit of space to add some more examples and strategies and tools, because on the Remix EQ community, we try to do that because it helps us think about the ways that we are making the world a more just place, and maybe we can bring some of those in or adapt them. So that we can, pursue these fugitive spaces, right? And these outcomes. And so we'd love to learn more about your research and practice. And so we're really eager to discover what you've learned from your grant research. And so starting with teachers, what are 1 to 2 learnings from your research that can inform teachers' view of the gifts and abilities Black girls bring into their classrooms and schools?
So I would say, there's so many things. 1 to 2. Okay, so for so the first main line is how, like, these women, that Black women teachers that I'm working with, they are 10 toes down for our girls and wanting to make sure that they are successful, and also to seeing the ways in which they needed to disrupt how they police them in their spaces. And then also too, like, going back into that space and apologizing to the girls when they notice that, hey, based on what I learned here, you know what, I didn't do that just right. And so I feel like it's a healing process, not only for them, but then also too how they open the doors for the girls, in order to have this bi-directional conversation about both of their needs, right? And so I feel like one of the main pieces is educators have really shifted their thinking about what does it mean for me to be an advocate for Black girls and understanding Black girlhood. And there's not just one way for it to look, right? And so I think that has probably been the through line of what they've learned. So with that, okay, so what are some practices that I can engage in? And so what do some of the things that I might need to shift in my classroom in order to have opportunities for these young people to just show what they know? And does it mean that may have to move away from this worksheet to do something that's more hands-on? And that gets me to my next point about how they are understanding giftedness, how they're understanding talent potential. And so one of the questions that I ask early on is, when is the last time that you nominated a student for gifted and talented education? And the answer is a resounding, I have not. And so they know that their children can do so many things, but then what is keeping us from this next step? Right, of formally going through the process, right? And so I did have one who mentioned, well, I took one child through and they didn't get in. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean for us moving forward? Like, does this mean that, we need a little bit more training? Does this mean that, not training in the sense where we're going to do this professional development professional development you to death. But like, what are some reframings that we can do in order to understand the process? What can I do on my end? And so I think that there has been this sort of uncovering of what does it mean for them to actually have some of these opportunities, and how with this early exploration, what does it mean for them in middle school? What does it mean for them in high school? And so I think that those are two of the mainstays that I've learned from the teachers over the past 3 years, because we've had the same 10 teachers for the past 3 years who've been going through this process, adding a few, but we've had, the same who stood around with us. And you just see so many shifts happening with them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And yay on your 100% retention rate. That's wonderful. That's a testament to the program and what they're really taking from that. And yeah, and how they're bringing it back to their classroom as both their instructional practice, but also a healing practice for them. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love it. So I'm going to turn to families now. What are 1 to 2 learnings from research that can encourage families to identify or further support their gifted and high ability Black girls?
I think for the families, one of the things that I've learned, from a research perspective from them, is I would say the illumination or the moments of insight of, oh, this is STEM, right? So reframing what STEM is and the fluidity of what it is. And what you'll hear them say, oh, I didn't know that was STEM. Oh, I've been doing that, right? I didn't realize that was something that, we could have, extended on or even talked about a little bit more. And so I really feel like one of the main threads of understanding is their reframing and operationalizing of what STEM is and what it can be. And so they see that with, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to read up a little bit more about the types of soap that I'm using because it might not be good for my skin, right? Of them unpacking that. Them also too understanding, like when we talk this upcoming week, we're talking about the browning method. And that was developed by a Black man, right? A Black biochemist, and them connecting some of these pieces to, how we've been doing this. And so I feel like it really begins to bubble and expand how they're thinking about what STEM is. And then also too, what types of exposures that their children are having as well. So I feel like that's the main piece. But then the second one, them being in co-development with the teachers has really helped to diminish some of the power dynamics. And then who knows what, right? Because they're in a collaborative, co-constructed environment where they're sharing knowledge across. And it's not they know more than me or this, that, and the third. It's like, okay, the power dynamics have shifted because we're all participants and we're all in this space learning. And then, you know what? I can build out different types of relationships with my child's teacher over time. And I feel like that is probably been really one of the other pieces. And then two, what their kids are doing at home are not just them being sometimes quote unquote being annoying. It's them, activating those modes of inquiry, of creativity, of problem solving. And so how can we reframe it as such?
Yeah, I love that, like the lesson or the learnings as reframing STEM as like part of their everyday experiences or things that they're already doing. I just find that when that happens, it's so powerful in terms of awareness of what you can do and what you're already doing in this space. Like you are already doing STEM, right? Which means if you really love doing it, you can pursue it.
Yes. And all of these different opportunities. And I think that that's, again, I don't do this alone. I have a dynamic research team of Black women doctoral students who just bring a wealth of knowledge. So one is a mental health professional. Another has been, two of them actually. Then one has been a classroom teacher. Then I have a chemical engineer. And so also too, bringing in all of this wealth of knowledge where they can see, across these different time points, some of these opportunities that are available is really helpful too.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing these examples. I do believe that they are helpful to both teachers and families of Black girls. I hope that they are affirming to what some have already observed in their classrooms and home. And I think you've also illuminated for us, but also provided us, right, new perspective and language for like not only understanding like Black girls and their mode of inquiry and the ways that they show what they know, but it also like puts us in a better position to advocate for them. So I appreciate it so much. And here you've dropped knowledge, you've dropped inspiration. And so I'm going to ask for you to just drop one more piece of inspiration on us as we head out of this show. As you reflect on your work with gifted and high ability Black girls, their families, their teachers, what inspires you most? And how is this inspiration influencing your next steps?
So I changed my mind so many times about how I would answer this question. I think, and I think I know what inspires me most is to see the girls each week and they don't want to stop. And then they take it home with them and they're continuing on with what they're doing. And they name themselves as scientists. The way that it warms my heart, and one of our ending activities is always draw scientists. And seeing the girls draw themselves and their mothers as scientists, there's nothing else like that, right? Because so for me, it's like, how do we continue the learning? But then also too, how we see the richness of what they bring each time we have a session. And the last thing is one of my girls who had some issues getting to her and her mother getting into the space, each week. I made sure to, keep in contact and, have some things sent to school with her so she could, keep going on with some of the activities. But seeing at the end of the school year, we sent them all STEM kits. Seeing her bring, at the end of school year, the kids just want to play. Essentially, that's all they want to do. But she brought in her STEM kit for her friends to engage in the kit with her, and she's teaching them how to utilize these tools and to create experiments. And I'm like, this is what it's all about. So I'm getting emotional, but this is what it's all about. And so I feel like that's my mainstay of information and seeing my girls who've gone on, who are graduated out of the program, like, Dr. A, we need to come back to see me in STEM. And I'm like, yes. So I think that that's what inspires me to keep going in, because the world is nasty and we have to hold on to pedagogies of hope. That's what sustains us. And community building is what sustains us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those stories and thank you for that inspiration. I know that those stories are inspiring you, but I think they're also inspiring us. Brianna Matches sending you some hearts. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Dr. Brittany N. Anderson, for accepting my invitation to speak about what matters most to you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to listen and learn from you, especially about why you have chosen to make the world a more just place. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this invite. This has just been the bright spot of my day and week. And so I appreciate you. And I just look forward to hearing more about what you're doing with other guests. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for all those who chimed in.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And as you do more things, feel free to come back and share. I mean, it's wonderful, right? We're here to inform and inspire. And I don't know anybody who hasn't felt that way today. So not possible. So thank you. I just have a couple of announcements and then I'll send everybody on their way. So just a reminder, we're here on the second and fourth Fridays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And our next session will be on the day of love, February 14th. And I'll be in conversation with Linda B. Jackson, who is the founder and CEO of Association of Community Empowerment Solutions, ACEs, a nonprofit organization that empowers individuals to achieve optimal health and well-being through education, access to healthcare, resources, and partnerships. Our conversation will center on improving HPV vaccine uptake to reduce cervical cancer death among underserved women in Savannah and Chatham County. And we'll also be joined by Creating Healthier Communities, which is a national nonprofit that helps organizations achieve their missions by bringing communities, nonprofits, and businesses together. They have a vaccination equity initiative that focuses on removing barriers to HPV vaccination access and cervical cancer prevention for underserved populations in Georgia. And Linda Jackson's organization, ACEs, is actually a rapid response grantee partner from them. So this will be our first fundee conversation that we'll have on the show. So I look very much excited to this conversation on this very important topic. So be sure to show some love on Valentine's Day and tune in to LinkedIn and YouTube, and also like and share our upcoming and past shows and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So now we are in season 7. So we have created substantial and an inspirational body of work, almost 50 episodes, y'all, which we have curated into playlists for your viewing or listening pleasure. So if you loved today's conversation with Dr. Brittany N. Anderson, I invite you to check out our playlist. We have a critical perspectives playlist that I think you'll enjoy. We have a Black women in STEM playlist that will also make you excited. And of course, education and our Amplify Women playlist. So you can see her on all of those, as well as other guests who are in support of the work that she's doing. And then I also invite you to view my recent TEDx talk entitled Building Community to Make the World a More Just Place, which was inspired by my conversations with guests on Remix EQ Live. Visit our website for episode announcements, recordings, and more information about our inspiring guests. You can also check out ways to support the Remix EQ community through donation or love offerings. We also have merch like our Empower and Amplify notebooks and a couple of teas, right, to show your support of this community. And if you are on the webpage or if you are in the store doing a bit of justice-inspired retail therapy, please poke around my website and learn more about my business, Blue Knowledge, which advances equity in schools and communities through collaborative research, inclusive evaluation, and equity-driven professional and community learning. So thank you, Remix EQ community, for your encouragement and, of course, your rally, which is how we recognize, appreciate, learn, love, and take care of you as you work to make the world a more just place. I'm your host, Dr. Erica Tate, and this is Remix EQ Live. See you next time.